Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 4.
Here's a look at today's top 4 at 4. A dusting of snow led to hazardous commutes this morning. Police reported dozens of crashes throughout the valley from unexpected overnight snow. There were 3 accidents in Harwood alone, and more snow is on the way. And Cass County is reporting a record high of new COVID-19 cases. The North Dakota Department of Health is reporting 223 new cases in Cass. 18 new deaths have been reported throughout the state. We have a further breakdown of the numbers scrolling at the bottom of your screen and also on valleynewslive.com. And consumers spent at a much faster pace than expected this past month. Retail sales rose almost 2%. Economists were expecting a rise of 0.7%. Electronics and appliances were the only major sector in the negative. A drop in electronics sales could indicate a coming economic slowdown. And President Trump and his Democratic rival Joe Biden held competing town hall events instead of the debate originally scheduled for last night. What was said and what it could mean for the election is coming up. That's a quick look at today's top 4 at 4. Now let's get a first look at our weather with Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson. Hey, Hutch.
Callie, thanks so much. We're keeping our eyes on what's heading our way for the beginning of our weekend. But first, a little bit of fun with the snow. Today in Dilworth, Nicole made a nice little snowman there. Thanks for sharing. Here's a look at our time lapse showing that accumulating snow in the FM area causing havoc with that morning commute as temperatures were in the 20s. And this is a look near South Lida Lake as snow accumulated on the grassy areas there. Let's track this system. By tonight, after midnight, we'll start to see the snow spreading into our western counties in the Devil's Lake Basin and James River Valley. It will continue to make its way during the overnight hours into the Red River Valley. It does look like areas along and north of I-94, as we've been talking about for the last couple of days. We'll see the snow developing as we go into the very early morning hours. And by late morning and early afternoon, the heaviest snow bands will be pushing across Lakes Country and in toward Duluth. With the wind picking up as the storm exits, that means a little bit of blowing snow, but it's going to be that wet, sticky, almost a spring-like snow across the area. And how much snowfall? Well, let's take a look at this real quick, Callie. We're not changing the forecast much. Along and north of Interstate 94, anywhere from around an inch to 4 inches. Highway 200 to Highway 2 appears to be the bullseye. 1 to 4 inches likely in many of these locations. Isolated upwards of 6 inches of snow as we go into the midday and early afternoon hours on Saturday, a first alert weather day. More hour-by-hour details here in just a few minutes, but have that shovel handy and the snow brush as well.
Thanks so much, Hutch. And one of the men charged in a North Fargo murder will go to trial next year. Lee Arthur Fry Jr. was allegedly inside a car when shots were fired near the Northport Hornbachers on May 12th. That's when Antoine Lamont White was killed. Police say Fry was sitting next to White along with another man selling him meth. Fry is charged with murder, conspiracy to commit robbery, and unlawful possession of a firearm. Court documents say his trial will begin on April 22nd through the 26th. And students and staff at Central Cass schools are staying in the classroom despite an uptick in COVID-19 cases. The school released a statement earlier this week saying that 3% of their high school tested positive for COVID-19. 37% of students are considered close contacts of confirmed cases. Superintendent Morgan Fornes sent out a letter this morning saying students will stay in the classroom. The district will stay in its green level, which has middle and high school students learning from home on Wednesdays. And the North Dakota Air National Guardsman is accused of sexually assaulting a co-worker he was supervising. Eric Clemson is charged with 1 felony count of sexual imposition by force. According to court documents, the 19-year-old victim went out with a group of co-workers, including Clemson. Clemson insisted on sleeping on her couch because he was too drunk to drive. He ended up climbing into her bed and assaulting her. The North Dakota National Guard says they're actively monitoring the case. And Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over officially begins today. Law enforcement across the state uses this month-long campaign to stop underage drinking and other illegal drinking activities. From now until November 15th, law enforcement will be doing compliance checks. According to Vision Zero, 265 people have died in North Dakota over the past 5 years from alcohol-related crashes. Alcohol is also a factor between 40 to 50% of crashes in our state each year. With statewide DUI arrests, there have been 4,644 arrests in 2019 and 3,220 arrests so far in 2020. A person may not drive or be in physical control of a vehicle under the influence of alcohol with a blood alcohol content level of 0.08. If you refuse to do the test required by law, you can lose your driving privileges for 180 days to 3 years. Penalties for DUI with a minor in the vehicle is imprisonment for 360 days and a $3,000 fine. Criminal vehicular injury results up to 5 years in jail and homicide up to 20 years. And a woman charged with the murder of a Northwood teenager has pled not guilty. Samantha Wilson is charged with 2 felonies, 1 count of murder and 1 count of contact by bodily fluids. Court documents say Wilson shot 15-year-old Jonah Borth with a pistol. Before arriving at a jail in Grand Forks, Wilson became uncooperative, banging her head into the windows of a patrol car. Court documents also say that Wilson spit blood on an officer. She'll be in court again on December 10th. And a special meeting in a small western Minnesota town was filled to capacity on Wednesday. The residents of Murdock showing up to oppose a controversial group that wants to set up shop in town and does not allow anyone of color to join. No seat is left empty here at a special public hearing in Murdock over a conditional use permit. And while that usually doesn't get this much attention when it's connected to an organization that's been labeled a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law, it does. The Asatru Folk Assembly, or AFA, recently purchased this former church in Murdock. AFA says they consider themselves a religion for only those of Northern European descent, and that doesn't sit well with those who live in Murdock.
I fail to see how a group that will disqualify me on site, and as well as view my daughter as somewhat of an aberration or something that's not to be celebrated. I fail to see how that would promote the general public safety.
We really don't want to be known, Murdock, as being the center of hate in Minnesota.
The AFA insists that they don't hate anyone, they're just practicing their religion. And President Trump and his Democratic rival Joe Biden held competing town hall events instead of the debate originally scheduled for last night. What was said and what it could mean for the election coming up next.
And we have a winter weather advisory hoisted for our northern counties along and north of Highway 200. We'll have details in your hour-by-hour forecast and what you can expect coming up next.